Everybody who was alive at the time remembers it. The Iran hostage crisis. 53 Americans held captive at the American embassy in Tehran. And then the agony of a failed rescue attempt which left 8 American servicemen dead. But you might have forgotten that there was another rescue mission, one that succeeded.
This is the only thing that we did in Iran that worked. Classified.
And Tony Mendez was the guy who made it work. The man known as the CIA's master of disguise went into Tehran and brought out 6 U.S. diplomats under the noses of revolutionaries chanting "Death to America."
It's like robbing banks, except in our case, we had to make it look like the money was still there.
The other guy doesn't know he's been robbed.
And he's happy.
That was 32 years ago. Mendez is now retired, slowed by age and illness. But he is about to appear on the big screen, played by Ben Affleck.
My name is Tony Mendez.
Affleck is the star and director of Argo, which, as they say in Hollywood, is based on a true story.
These are the screenplays.
There's delicious irony in that, since Mendez went in to rescue, in his words, exfiltrate, the 6 Americans, disguised as the head of a Hollywood scouting crew looking for locations to shoot a movie entitled Argo.
If you're doing an exfiltration with a group of people, you need a cover story.
Cover story, you need a lie.
Yeah, a lie. Maybe it's not credible, but it's so strange that it couldn't be false. It has to be true.
I need you to help me make a fake movie.
Came to the right place.
This movie, if it weren't true, it would be terrible. It would just seem absurd. Like, what do you mean? The CIA is trying to get these people out of Iran, and now they turn to Hollywood for help. The fact that it's based on true events means that you have to sort of take it seriously.
So you want to come to Hollywood and act like a big shot?
Yeah.
Without actually doing anything?
No.
You'll fit right in.
Mendez and Oscar-winning makeup artist John Chambers, played by John Goodman, made up a sci-fi movie called Argo, whose plot could loosely be described as Buck Rogers meets the Middle East.
Argo. Why the name Argo?
Well, Argo is kind of a battle cry we used when things were going a little dicey.
The code name for this CIA caper came from an obscene knock-knock joke. Knock, knock, who's there? Argo. Argo who? Argo, you can figure out the rest.
But Argo had to be more than a punchline to a bad joke. It had to have all the trappings of a real movie, what's known in the spy business as backstop.
Well, we have to invent some offices. If you go there or you call them up, they answer the phone.
You got an office in Hollywood.
And we decided to call it Studio 6 Productions, because there are 6 of these guys and gals.
The 6 Americans had gotten out of the embassy just before it was taken over by an angry crowd and were hiding out in the homes of Canadian diplomats. Lee Schatz, who worked for the U.S. as an agricultural attaché, was one of the 6.
We got so good at playing Scrabble that some of us memorized the wood design on the back of the tiles, and we could avoid a Q or we could pick up a U. I mean, hours and hours.
For all the boredom, it was becoming increasingly apparent the Iranians were on their trail.
The Canadian ambassador was getting anonymous phone calls asking for them by name.
With time running out, Mendez and one assistant flew into Tehran as card-carrying members of Studio 6 Productions.
My chore was to get in and get everybody to believe in the first meeting that we were going to be able to do this.
You were making a Hollywood pitch.
Exactly.
Each of the 6 Americans in hiding was given a Canadian passport and a cover story that made them members of the Argo scouting team. Lee Schatz became Henry W. Collins, cameraman for Studio 6 Productions. The airport was the quickest way out, but those days in Tehran...
Iranian soldiers and secret police have clamped a tight security lid on the departure lounges of the airport where cameras are not permitted.
You get caught going through the airport on false documents with 2 CIA officers, and they find out you're Americans.
It's not a good thing to be doing it for your health anyway.
What's your job on the movie?
Producer.
Associate producer. What was the last movie you produced?
High and Dry.
Who paid for that?
CFTC.
What's your middle name? What's your middle name? What's your middle name?
Leon?
Shoot him. He's an American spy.
After Mendez quizzed the 6 on their cover stories to make sure they could answer simple questions, he cabled CIA headquarters for permission to bring them home.
The response was, "See you later, exfiltrator."
See you later, exfiltrator.
The night before they were to leave, Schatz sat up late, finishing off the last bottle of liquor in the house.
Boy, that was the last bottle of Cointreau ever, too.
That bad, the hangover, huh?
It was bad, yeah.
You think maybe it was the Cointreau that made it look so doable the next day?
Well, I mean, if you had to look a little hazy and foggy, you know, at 6 o'clock in the morning in an airport, I was definitely able to pull that off.
That one you didn't have to fake.
No.
Everything else about them was fake.
Our hats were Canadian, our shirts were Canadian. All the paraphernalia that comes along with life, you know, had that Canadian mark if someone decided to pull us aside and go through luggage. I ended up going through clearance first and, you know, was questioned.
What'd they ask you?
They asked if I was the person in the picture. And I said yes, and went like this and pulled my beard down because it was shorter that day. And the guy walks away from his desk into a side room.
Was that the moment of truth for you in this whole operation when that guy walked out?
Yeah, that's when it got most serious.
But the airport official came back with a cup of tea and waved him and the rest of the group through to the departure lounge.
We chose Swiss Air because of their on-time and maintenance records.
Mm-hmm.
Then they announced that the flight would be delayed. We had a little crisis, you know, of confidence.
Really, you didn't have to be paranoid to think that
No.
they're delaying this flight because somebody's coming to get us.
Yes.
But it really was just a mechanical delay. And after a couple of long plane rides, the six returned home to a tumultuous welcome. A small, badly needed victory for which Jimmy Carter personally congratulated Tony Mendez, but only in private.
Iran's revolutionary government has added Canada to its enemies list. Angered and embarrassed by Canada's daring rescue of 6 Americans from Tehran.
The Canadians did it, the Canadians did it. And you know that the Canadians played a crucial role, but the CIA did it. Was that a hard fiction to maintain?
It was a partnership. In this situation, it was absolutely the best thing that could have happened for someone other than the Americans to take credit for this while they were still holding Americans. Who cares who gets credit? CIA isn't in the business of taking credit.
After 84 days of hiding, one of the first things the newly freed Lee Schatz did when he got home was run a check on just how well backstopped their cover story as a scouting crew for Studio 6 Productions had been.
I called the phone number on my business card.
What did they say?
I asked to speak to myself. I said, he's traveling in the Mideast right now. I said, no. I said, he's home. And then just hung up.